Hey everybody, it's Eric from epautos.com, your Libertarian and Undiapered car guy. I'm going to do a quick little walk around here of the 20 Hyundai Kona, which is one of the newest entrants in the subcompact crossover SUV class. It's related to the Kia Niro, and it joins a segment populated by rivals like the Honda HR-V and the Honda CX-3. Now, what makes this particular crossover any more interesting or engaging than the other ones that are already in the segment? It's often really challenging as a car journalist to write about crossovers because so many of them are so alike. And you're reduced to pointing out things like, well, this one's got a slightly bigger touchscreen than the other one, and gee, look at the apps that you get in this thing, and oh my gosh, it's got an extra USB port in the back. But here we actually have something that's substantive, which makes writing about this car a whole lot easier. Most of the vehicles in the class, in fact, I think all of the vehicles in this class, come with one take-it-or-leave-it engine. There's no optional engine, there's not a lot of horsepower, there's not much performance. So when you're buying some of the rivals in this class, you're getting functionality and you're getting a good little knockabout car that has a small exterior footprint and a pretty impressive interior footprint that lets you carry substantially more than you could in even a significantly larger car. All to the good, but it's really not a lot to light your fire. In the case of the Kona, the standard engine is very competitive with the only engines in rivals like the Honda HR-V and the Mazda CX-3. But if you want something that's a little bit more competitive, you can upgrade to a 1.6-liter turbo engine paired with a 7-speed automated manual transmission, which brings up another point. Both of the Kona's engines come with actual geared automatics as opposed to CVT automatics. CVTs have virtues, I'm not knocking them, but a lot of people, including me, don't particularly like them because of the shiftless feel. They are fundamentally an economy-oriented transmission. They're good for mileage, that's why a lot of manufacturers are putting CVTs in their vehicles. But when you put a CVT in a car with an underpowered engine, what you wind up with also is a lot of noise because the way they operate, they put the engine into its power band as you're trying to get some acceleration out of the thing, and so the thing is screaming along at 4,000 or 5,000 RPM or even higher. It won't shift up, it won't shift down because it doesn't shift, it just alters the range. So there's that. If you're looking for a small crossover that doesn't have a CVT and does have a lot more power than you can get in most of the other ones, you might want to have a look at this thing. Some other really nice things about the Kona, and I'll point out to you, that are unusual to find in a new vehicle, and particularly a new design vehicle, by which I mean a vehicle that hasn't been on the market for a long time with only model year changes but not really any fundamental changes. The Kona is only about 2 years old, so it's a pretty new design vehicle, and look what I'm going to hone in on here now. Looky-loo! It's a pull-up emergency brake, not a push-button electric parking brake. People who have been following my rants know that I am a big proponent of the pull-up emergency brake for a variety of reasons, not just the hooligan reason that you can pull that thing up and lock up the rear wheels and do a bootleg turn if you want to, though that there is that. But fundamentally, the other thing is that if you do lose your main hydraulic brakes, you can modulate the braking force that's applied in an emergency to bring this car to a safe stop. And isn't safety important? In a more controlled manner than you can with the electronic parking brake, which you push and the thing just applies itself, and potentially it can and does in some cases lock up the rear wheels, putting the vehicle potentially into a skid, which isn't very safe. With one of these things, let's say your brake fails, you can just pull it up and you can feel the brakes being applied, and then you can release the brake being applied so as to control the braking force that's being applied. And also, there's another factor that in terms of down-the-road repair costs, a pull-up brake like this is connected to a cable. It's a mechanical system. The cable goes back to the calipers in the rear, pulls on the cables when you pull on the handle, and that's what applies the braking force. With the push-button system, you've got electronics, you've got actuators, and that stuff is fine while it's new and while it's under warranty, but when it no longer is and that stuff breaks, you're potentially going to be looking at a more expensive and more complex repair, probably something you can't do yourself as opposed to running a cable from that handle back to the brakes and so on. Another thing, by the way, that's missing that you'll probably be happy to know about is that this vehicle does not come with automated stop-start. So the engine does not shut itself off every time the car stops moving and then shutter back to life when it starts moving again. So I'm a big fan of that. I really dig that. A lot of people don't like automated stop-start / ASS. It's hilarious that nobody in the marketing department ever realized what that acronym, how that acronym would present itself to people. At any rate, so that's a really nice feature. The other nice feature, of course, is that it's a very functional and useful vehicle. It's got a bit less room on the inside overall than the Honda HR-V, which is still the class leader in terms of how much space you've got inside, but it's got more than the sporty looking but not very sporty driving Mazda CX-3. As always with these crossovers, you can expand the cargo area by folding the seat backs forward, and then you've got this big old space to put stuff in. And it's remarkable how much stuff you can put in something like this, particularly given the exterior footprint of the thing. Did a little bit of looking at the specifications, and this thing has roughly 3 times as much total cargo capacity as the considerably longer overall Honda Civic sedan, which of course is a compact size sedan, and so it's a class up from the subcompact. Also, I think they've done a really snarky and good job with the styling. It's not overwrought. It's not, it's not too much, and it's enough to be distinctive. In particular, these kind of cool cat's eye LED headlights, and then you got your Hyundai signature grille, which isn't, that's not the most original thing ever, but nonetheless, it's distinctive enough. It's an attractive-looking vehicle. I think that its styling wears well. Really, nothing about this vehicle to report that I didn't like, and I think you'll like it too. If you're in the market for a small crossover, you ought to go check that thing out. Anyway, I'll have more up at epautos.com, the web's best libertarian and diaper-free website. Stop on by sometime, have a look, see what you think, and thanks for listening, and thanks for supporting the site. We'll catch up with you again soon.